Hello, my name is Volker, and I am the co-founder of Nexus Ethica. And with me today is my other co-founder of Nexus Ethica, Stefan. And today we want to explain to you exactly what we do at Nexus Ethica. Stefan, why do we exist? Maybe you can introduce yourself briefly first.
Exactly. So, Volker, you've already said it. My name is Stefan. I've been in the business for over 20 years now in various roles in larger and smaller companies as a personnel manager or as an executive. And then, together with Volker, I decided to start our own business at the beginning of the year. And why did we do that? Well, first and foremost, because we love personnel and the work in human resources. But secondly, because we have also very often seen in our professional in-house careers that big challenges often become insurmountable challenges. And we have made it our mission to tackle such challenges together with companies and find solutions. And yes, that's the main reason why we started. I don't know, Volker, do you have anything to add to that?
We've had a few years of HR work under our belts, if you can put it that way. And I think we can agree that we've always seen in many companies that they fail on the same issues. On the one hand, it's leadership. On the other hand, it's cooperation and collaboration, but also clarity in processes. And we both met at Zalando, and then our paths diverged. You were at Wisman and B. Mary, among others, most recently at 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐿. I was at Scout24 and at Mr. Specs, and then in other HR management functions. And we've really seen that it's always the same problems in quotation marks. And our mission with Nexus Ethica is ultimately to bring exactly that together and to position companies, management, but also employees in their collaboration in such a way that people can work well and the company can grow stably.
Absolutely.
Perhaps next we'll explain the 3 pillars of Nexus Ethica. We do different things, and I think the most important and interesting thing here is that we offer masterclasses and online training. Stefan, what does it all look like for us?
Exactly. So our online training is self-paced learning. That means you, as the learner, can decide for yourself at what speed you learn. We have different options. So there's the masterclass, which you've already mentioned. Those are always larger training courses with a learning commitment of between 8 and 16 hours that you have to invest as a learner. And they're designed to cover a specific subject area, so you really take away expert knowledge. And what's also important to say about these online trainings or the master classes and the online trainings is that we want to provide a kind of help for self-help. For example, we have a masterclass on the topic of smart pay, which is all about compensation structures in companies. And it's structured so that after you complete this masterclass, you'll understand how grading works, how salary bands are connected to grading, what the legal frameworks are, and how you can implement this in your own company. Yeah, Volker, maybe you'd also like to give an example of an online training or one of your masterclasses, since you already have 2 masterclasses live.
Yes, gladly. So fundamentally, we focus on topics that are also critical in every company. On the one hand, these are leadership topics, but on the other hand, they're also topics related to communication, conflicts, and AI competence, which, by the way, is also one of my masterclasses about how you, as an employee or as a manager, can acquire AI competence and then carry that AI competence further into the company. This is also in line with the EU AI Act and Article 4, which states that companies must train their employees in AI. We've covered that in the form of this mandatory instruction, a super interesting topic. I've also created a masterclass on the topic of corporate culture, specifically on how to act as a culture ambassador and actively help shape and bring the corporate culture to life at every level of the hierarchy. Of course, we also address many HR topics and HR processes. This includes warnings and also a very, very special, interesting topic, namely career transition. So when employees leave a company and embark on new career paths, that's something we've had a great deal of success with. Perhaps, Stefan, you'd like to say a few words on the topic of career transition?
With pleasure. In fact, I'd like to use this topic to build a bridge to our second pillar, the topic of consulting, which we also offer at Nexus Ethica. The topic of career transition actually came up because we were commissioned with a restructuring project for one of our consulting clients. And in that context, we simply said, hey, what can we give to the employees who are now being let go and, let's say, have to look for a new job? And from that, this topic of career transition was launched, where we ultimately designed an online course that meets the employee where they are when they receive their termination notice and accompanies them along the entire path to a successful start at a new company, and then, so to speak, even beyond that, to successfully passing the probationary period. That's what sets us apart a bit, that we're very flexible there with our experience and can set up such topics and such trainings very quickly. For instance, the aforementioned training, we developed that for our client within 6 weeks. And we noticed several things about it right away, you know. So one thing is that we, of course, developed it with those affected. That means we tailored it to the situation a person finds themselves in when they lose their job. On the other hand, we, of course, also tested it at the same time and then further developed it. And for example, something we can also count as a sustainable success for ourselves is that we were able to significantly reduce the number of labor law disputes by offering this very training. Because it's quite clear, if I, as a person who has lost their job, am immediately supported and someone shows me what I need to do to get a new, perhaps even much better job as quickly as possible than the one I had, then I'm busy with my future and much less busy with how I can cause my former employer maximum damage. That means labor law cases decrease, but so do the comments on Kununu and other job platforms. And so that's definitely something where we always really enjoy working on it together with you or with our clients, to then, at the end of the day, create really well-tailored, good...
I think that's a very, very important point that I'd like to emphasize again, because for me, it's a unique selling proposition. We are consultants who also bring our own learning management system with us, which we operate and use ourselves, and above all, are able to implement things quickly and at short notice. That means when we're in consulting mandates, then of course we first come in a very, very classic way, analyze structure and help to make the right decisions there. But in that sense, we're not the classic consultants, but rather sparring partners, because we ourselves have already worked in strong hyper-growth environments, in growth environments, but also know the other end of the spectrum, namely the restructuring part. And I believe this constellation allows us to engage very, very well with these specific situations, whether they are challenges in terms of leadership, roles, conflicts, HR operations, compliance, governance. These are all points where we can then simply score, combining our consulting with our learning approach.
Yes, and I'd like to perhaps add 2 more things to that. And the first one is, Volker, we've known each other for over 10 years now, and we work very closely and very well together. That means when you book us, you get a well-practiced team. And we coordinate internally, of course, so that we also have an advantage over, say, an interim manager. Even if one of us is on vacation or happens to be sick, the client doesn't notice a thing, you know. So the handover simply works, and there's always a contact person available. That's one thing I wanted to mention. The second thing, which I also know from my in-house perspective, is where I very often tried to get around using consultants, you know. Too often I've simply experienced someone coming in who is super good at making PowerPoint presentations and handing out good advice, and when it comes to implementation, that person is gone. What we can say here is that because we've already been responsible for and have done all these projects in-house, on the one hand, there's the knowledge of how such projects work, what the roadblocks are, which milestones should be on a typical project agenda. The other thing, however, that's also there is that we've simply developed standards for many of these projects. For example, implementing a new 𝐻𝐻𝐼CE, implementing a new ATS, opening an entity somewhere, making decisions, outsourcing payroll or keeping it in-house, building processes, implementing standard processes in Workday. These are all things we've done not just once, but multiple times. then so of course we have a foundation we can build on. And very often it's the case that in a first, alignment meeting, we actually already have the rough structure for our clients. Of course, we still have to adapt that to the specific circumstances in the companies, but we basically never have to start from scratch.
Yes. And with that, it's perhaps also a good time to talk about our third pillar, which is namely offsites and leadership retreats, because we've noticed in our careers that you simply can't solve certain things in a meeting room during day-to-day business. Instead, you need clear and structured offsite settings for that, where you can get out of the daily grind for once, where you can exchange ideas honestly and openly, and where you also make progress, for example, in collaboration, in strategy, in conflicts, or also in the culture. And with the offsites and leadership retreats, we have the huge advantage of location. And that location advantage is Germany and Cyprus, where we both have roots. And there, of course, you can do great things and really focus on important topics in a completely different place.
And maybe to add to that, why Cyprus? Cyprus has the advantage that it has, so to speak, an extended season, meaning the summer usually starts in early March and ends in late November. And the months of November and March in particular are months where the air temperatures are around 25 degrees. In November, the water temperature is even just below 30 degrees. And in March, the water temperatures are a bit cooler. But for those who don't mind a cold shower in the morning, they can, of course, already enjoy the sea. What we've found is that we live in this high-speed society. And if I want to build sustainable structures and establish sustainable change processes, it simply depends on how the team works together. The distractions in our daily business, in the office, or in a mixed setup where maybe half the team is remote or at another location are huge. And we've learned that if, for example, you bring the team together for an offsite before a change and maybe integrate a kickoff, that it simply helps a team carry through this entire change process. Or take the situation where, as a leadership team, you want to develop a strategy together. Often that's just not possible during daily business, yes, because there are simply too many distractions. If, on the other hand, you take the team out of the day-to-day business, go to a place where you're by yourselves and can work intensively on something together, and then not just formulate the strategy as a headline, but also think together about what this means for our respective teams for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, what needs to happen. How do we perhaps also need to work with each other and collaborate between functions? That's actually half the battle on the way to achieving these goals. And that's how we came to the topic of offsites.
Yes, and I think that shows very, very well how it all connects, because the three pillars we just mentioned, they all interlock. And often a training is the entry point. Then there's the consulting that solves more complex issues, and the offsites that really bring people together. And we see very, very often that many clients also start small, and then they realize that with a combination of all three pillars, they can also make progress very, very quickly. For example, we have clients who also book retainers with us. That means we are available for a certain number of days per month as sparring partners, as consultants, and to share our expertise. And in terms of price, it's not nearly as expensive as everyone thinks. It often starts at just 1,500 euros. Then, depending on how you set it all up, it can, of course, be very worthwhile for a company.
Maybe to add to that, I've mentioned it before, Volker and I, we've been connected in business for over 10 years. And that's also a little bit of what sets us both apart. So we're not interested in making a quick buck or a quick euro, but much more in building long-term relationships with you or with our clients. And that's how we also see this business with the retainers. We like it because in the end, we can make our expertise available to small companies, to young companies. And what we simply love about it is when we provide this input, especially in smaller companies, maybe with great growth potential, that our ideas and our experience then enter the company at a very early stage, and we can thus contribute to their success. And that's fun.
Yes. Yes, and that of course also sets us apart from others, right? As you just said, we have HR expertise, we have leadership experience that we bring to the table. We focus on modern topics, on current legislation and changes, also in, yes, political regulations, in the design of work. And we are not classic consultants because we simply haven't been on the market as consultants for that long. Instead, we have very, very long experience in permanent positions in companies, the various sizes. And that, of course, makes us very, very hands-on and naturally offers great added value for the companies.
Now, we've already talked a lot about our 3 pillars. If one or the other of you says, hey, I want to learn more about that, how can people reach us?
There are many, many ways. I think the most important way is, of course, our website at nexusethica.com. Then we do a lot on LinkedIn. We have a company profile on LinkedIn, but we also have personal profiles on LinkedIn where we regularly post about the topics that we're working on. And we also very, very actively do a LinkedIn Live at least once a month. That means a real webinar, a virtual session where you can exchange ideas with us on a specific topic and also ask us questions. And that is, of course, the way to reach us on exciting topics. And we always enjoy exchanging ideas. So at this point, we'd like to invite all our viewers to follow us and also to contact us personally.
Because you completely forgot that you also have a podcast on HR topics, which is definitely worth subscribing to so you don't miss the insights. Then we also have a YouTube page where we share, yes, about the topic of HR and ESG. And we also have a TikTok channel where we provide shorter information for you. And beyond that, you can, of course, also write to us, and we'd be super happy to meet for an informal get-to-know conversation where we can simply get to know each other. You can ask your questions, and we can also report very openly on what you can expect from us and what we might not be able to do or can't offer. We are completely transparent about that. That was a little insight into what we do at Nexus Ethica and, above all, why we do it.
And if you have questions, as we said, the invitation stands. If you want to dive deeper, contact us. If you have current challenges in your team, get in touch with us. We are open sparring partners and would like to emphasize that we genuinely look forward to getting in touch with you. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. Exactly.
Many, many thanks, and then hopefully see you soon. Many, many thanks, and then hopefully see you soon.